All right. You remember all those peppers we had? This is what that spot looks like now. And we are going to utilize this spot. And that's the subject of another video. Hey, Lisa here with our Georgia Suburban Homestead, and we're a couple of days past the series of hard freezes. We had 4 nights in a row of below freezing temperatures, and even into the 20s, which is very early for Georgia, or lately anyway, since the global climate has been shifting. Really weird weather this year, but I thought you would like to take a walk with me through the garden to see where we are right now. All right? End of the first week of October. Stay tuned. As always, we've got Brucey the garden cat. You remember all the peppers, the 100 or 96 or 94 pepper plants that we had here. I believe it was 94 here, and we had more on the hill over here. But those we cut back to the ground, picked all the peppers, and have tilled the surface just to make it looser. So let's walk down the pathway that Charlie put in for us. Hey Brucey, you gonna help? He'll help. He's saying he wants to go in the house, but we're walking the garden. Here you see this red foliage. That is Indian red mustard. And you want to have something packed with flavor, that's the stuff. And we planted it probably 5 years ago. And it reseeds and comes up where it wants to be. And that'll be there through the winter. That's a leaf, cement leaf impression that I do classes on that, but we use this one as a little bird bath. It doesn't hold much water so that mosquitoes don't have a chance to breed in it, but the smaller creatures like to go drink from it. This is another angle of what got plowed up yesterday. Come on, Brucey, lead the way. There's the archway into the front garden, front yard. Comfrey is still blooming pretty well. That's comfrey. Tropical garden with brassicas, and the brassicas are newly planted. Hey baby. But this is what's left of the ginger and turmeric. Again, these are tropical plants. You see what happens when they get cold. But we have peas, English peas, planted underneath the trellises. And you remember the pots we planted together? One lonely chard has come up. I'm going to have to replant. The seed might have been a little old. The 1,000-head kale looks pretty good. Maybe I'll thin it out and share it in the 2 pots. I'm disappointed with the Tuscan kale. I see some things coming up, but they're just kind of sitting there, and we're getting 1 Tuscan kale? Really? Spinach is starting to come up. I don't have a whole lot of luck with spinach, but I'll take 3 plants, 4 plants. The bunching onions is bunching. So we'll be pulling those and using those. That's a success. Ethiopian kale, you see we had some pot wash until we started the water up here and washed a lot of the seed down. We could probably thin those out at this size as well. And and shared those amongst the pots. This was another hill with peppers. You see, no more. English peas going strong, came through the hard freeze just fine. Got some carrots coming up. Got extra happy carrots that we'll have to do a lot of thinning on those. Something tells me that's not all carrot though. Up the hill here at the feeding station, I'm going to stand out of the sign so I can actually see what I'm showing you. There. We've got what's left of a turmeric, and then the parsley looks really happy, doesn't it? Is that to your approval, Brucey? More turmeric next to the house. The French sorrel's coming back. It'll come back and be with us most of the winter. Look down the hill at my raised beds in the front yard here. Some Uzbek gold radish here that's huge, and they're coming up around that, what's left of that pepper stalk. You see it? And a brassica and more brassicas. I gotta stand out of the sun so you can actually see what I'm looking at. The brassicas. Look at this one. I think that's a collard green. Carrots just now coming up. Fava beans. Carrot that we're letting go to seed. More fava beans. It's my first time growing fava beans in a pot. We'll have to see how that does. Now, the horseradish is supposed to not survive a freeze, but look at it. We've got to wait till it starts getting bitten back to actually harvest it. And then we're going to do a cover crop in this bed. The rosemary is blooming. The hazelnut tree, or my husband calls them filberts. You see those long things here? That's the male blooms on this tree, and it'll bloom now, and in the spring the female blooms will come, and they'll get pollinated. There's a lot of blooms on that this year. This is looking kind of scrappy, but we don't cut the hollow stalks of plants down because we have all sorts of beneficial bugs that will overwinter actually inside those stalks. So if you were to read the book The Humane Gardener, it tells you how to preserve your natural, your wildlife in your yard and your beneficial insects, and it'll change the way you look at a winter landscape. Instead of seeing an eyesore with these brown stalks, you'll see insect condominiums. So when you clean your yard so that it looks the human equivalent of clean, you're actually killing wildlife. Okay, so we have some volunteer cabbage, as you see. And bok choy, it looks really good. That's volunteer, that reseeded from last year, and I might have some of that for dinner tonight. Now when I pick it, I'll pick leaves from the outside, and when you pick cabbage or lettuce or any of the leafy greens from the outside and low, it responds by putting more growth up, and you'll get more plant. So don't ever cut the whole head. But we've got broccoli and cauliflower in here. We've got one chard. We have planted more chard, but you saw what happened in the bucket up there. This kale, that Scotch curly leaf kale, and it's a year old. We planted it, it was a year old in October or September. And it died back through the heat of the summer. But as you see, if you leave the stalks, even though they're unsightly, again, these greens, we planted a year ago September. A year ago, 2 months ago. So it's 14 months old. And it's starting to feed us again. Over here we've got some celery right along the side of the wall. Some Russian kale here that has come back from its stalk. Let's see if I can show you the stalk. You see that underneath there? That's the stalk, and it's just coming up. The stalk's laying down, and all this is coming from up from the stalk, which is like these stalks. You see how long those are? Okay, that's collard greens. Look at the length of that stalk. Look at this stalk. You see how it came up and then it fell over and it turned upward. And look. Now I'll pick the bottom leaves, the bottom of this rosette, and it'll put on more and more growth. Rosemary doesn't look too happy this year. I got covered up by pepper plants. It really got crowded. Pepper plants really like this spot. And we've got some French sorrel. If you don't grow French sorrel, you're missing out. This stuff is hardy. It was not supposed to be in full sun, and Charlie put it in full sun anyway. But it'll be happier when the cool weather hits. Very sour, tart green to either cook or eat raw. It's really good. That's a 10-year-old lavender bush. I think it's on its last legs. It stays in my front porch, my front yard. Hate has no home here. Now this bush looks so forlorn because it got crowded by the peppers. But look who's living in it. See if I can get up on her. Hey baby. Yoop-a-yoop. Didn't mean to scare you. She's pretty, but oh, that's her web. Let's look down here. That is lemon verbena. Some of you won a little bit of my private herb stash for tea, and this was in some of it. Oh, that smells so delightful. But this bush has been in this spot, oh, I want to say at least 6 years. And it'll leaf out and it'll survive the winter. It'll drop its leaves when the real cold stuff hits in January. But we're going to give it a little bit more room next year and see if we can get it to thrive. So that was a quick walk through the front garden. It's always a work in progress, and wait till you see what we're going to do with the blank spot left by where the peppers were. And we will utilize all our room here at our Georgia Suburban Homestead. So if you like coming along for our journey, trying to be self-sustainable and to help others with food insecurity, then please join the family by hitting that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up and a comment or two. Feel free to ask questions. Until next time, see ya.